The story of the prodigal son is perhaps one of the most familiar parables that Jesus told his disciples. It's also one of the most surprising in the way that it demonstrates the extraordinary extent of God's love, grace, and forgiveness. There can be no doubt that the prodigal son's behaviour warrants criticism. Not only does he demand his inheritance while his father is alive, a damaging and shameful act that would have divided his father's estate, but then he abandons his father and wastes away that inheritance on dissolute living. The prodigal son, now penniless in a land of famine, ends up working on a pig farm, an unclean occupation where he earns so little that he longs to eat the food that the pigs are fed. Returning home as a failure and carrying all the shame of what he had done, you might expect that his father would not be pleased to see him. However, defying expectation, the father joyfully welcomes the prodigal son home. He abandons cultural and social norms by running out to meet him when he's far away. He then hugs and kisses his son before the son has had a chance to apologize. And then the father has his son clothed with a robe, a ring, and sandals before throwing a party for him. The celebration of this failure son, who would have brought shame on himself and on his family, is a radical and countercultural act. And you might understand why his older brother, who had remained working on the farm, would have found the father's response difficult to accept. However, as the father reminds him, we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. Jesus wants his listeners to know that God's prodigal son, who is offered grace and extravagant love, is about the God who reaches out to us in love and to the sinners and outcasts of this world. God loves all people and desires them to come to him. Now the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who, like the older brother, complain that Jesus spent his time with all the wrong people. Yet they were unable to see the joy that the good news brought, that Jesus heralded. And perhaps we too need to consider whether we share in the joy of God's saving work. Are we willing to reach out and welcome the outcast in like Jesus? Are we willing to share God's radical love?